Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Dada Show, coming to you from Wama, Africa. I'm your host, Ashiko Mbule. Autism is a devastating and developmental disorder that affects the whole family wide and large. A diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder is both shocking and scary for both parent and child. The unique and at times odd aspects that are related to ASD can affect the entire family, both psychologically and emotionally. The official data on autism prevalence in Kenya is yet to be found. However, according to the Autism Society of Kenya, a parent-driven organization that was founded in 2013, they believe that it is 4%, which means that every one child out of 25 is autistic. This figure is actually higher than the global average. The good news is that the situation in Kenya for both parents and autistic children is improving. Today we shall meet parents to autistic children who have created platforms to increase awareness about the disorder while bringing together parents and caregivers in similar situations to share information, experience, and support. As always, we encourage you to take part in our conversation by joining us on all our social media platforms at the Dada's KBC. We look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to your feedback, your questions on this and any other episode. But before we dive right into the introductions, kindly watch the following feature.
Autism or autism spectrum disorders refers to a neurodevelopment characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech and nonverbal communication, as well as by unique strengths and differences. Persons with autism spectrums each have distinct strengths and challenges because of autism is a spectrum disorder. Some people with autism may require and depend on others for support in daily lives, while others may need less support and in some cases live entirely independently. Signs of autism can be seen in a child as early as 3 years old. Some of the signs you should look out for are no back and forth sharing of sounds, smiles or other facial expressions by 9 months, no interactive gesturing such as pointing, reaching or waving by 12 months, no words by 16 months, any loss of speech or social skills at any age, etc. A report by World Health Organization in 2018 estimates that 1 in 160 children has autism spectrum disorder worldwide. In Kenya, no official statistics have been released. However, the Autism Society of Kenya has estimated prevalence of 4% in 2007. Persons with autism face major problems such as lack of awareness in the community. This forces parents to feel uncomfortable bringing their children out without being judged. Parents and caregivers of autistic children have established support units for each other over the last decade.
Taking care of them is very, very draining. You know, some of them, they don't go to the toilet normally. So it's a lot of work that this will go through. And maybe when a woman is pregnant, they expect to give birth to a healthy child who can walk, child who can eat, child who can speak. But now, when it doesn't happen like that, they feel depressed, they feel the anxiety, they feel like blaming someone, they feel like maybe wamerogwa or something. And that is what brings the depression. So they need to be talked to every day. They need a counselor, a professional to tell them what to do, to just maintain them. It's even draining them financially because they need a lot of money to take care of this person.
Awareness, acceptance, inclusion for all persons with autism spectrum disorder.
There should be policies in the government because the government should lay down policies that should be implemented trickle down to the society, the local mwananchi. So the government should give them an opportunity and openings in the employment opportunities so that they can be absorbed wherever they go to.
Welcome back. As mentioned, joining me today are parents to autistic children who have taken the initiative and created platform to disseminate information, to break stereotype, and to also support each other. I'm also very privileged to be joined by a trainee at WAMA Africa. If you caught the previous episode that we shot, we did explain WAMA Africa as a social enterprise establishment, a restaurant that hires special need individuals. So today we have with us Chelsea, who will be joining us. She is autistic and she's also a trainee here to give us a little bit more insight about her life and her experience here at WAMA Africa. But right next to me is Ms. Sylvia Mora, who is the founder of Kenya organization Andy Speaks for Special Needs. Have I gotten it correct?
Perfect.
Persons Africa, yeah? Which advocates for children with special needs, and she is also a mother of 2 boys with autism, correct? Next, we have Mr. Duncan Kerr. Mr. Duncan Kerr has been very, very vocal, and it's also very admirable. He's a father. Most situations we find that the fathers tend to take a back seat, you know, of course, according to traditional African society, the child, you know, raising and bearing is always designated to the woman folk. So Mr. Duncan Kerr has a group called the Special Fathers Network, the Nairobi chapter. He has made it note that it's the Nairobi chapter, there's a USA chapter. He's the founder of that, Karibu Sana. Of course, I'd also like to acknowledge my wonderful audience. I am honored that each and every single one of you could take time from your busy schedules to sit with me and to discuss this issue today. So, Karibuni sana. So, to get the ball rolling, I'll start off with a question that I asked during the break, but I also feel like it's also important for people at home and, you know, our audience, everybody to know. So, do you refer to, do you prefer to say a child with autism or an autistic child? I understand that's a debate in certain groups.
An autistic child. It is always debatable, but after a lot of fights and conversations, you find that it's supposed to be a person-first kind of approach.
Yes.
When you're referring to disability. So that, because when you say a child with, it's like you're the same way you say someone living with. You're living with your neighbor.
Is carved out by the disease, and you do not want that.
You don't want that
Because
it is in them.
Yeah.
So it's part of them. So it's an autistic person.
Okay, thank you so much. So still on you, from our conversation, in your own understanding from the extensive research that you have done, how would you define autism or ASD?
ASD. So autism spectrum disorder, as that's the long form. Autism is what we are comfortable with. ASD is the initials for it, but it is a neurodevelopmental disability that is characterized by aspects of differences in social interaction, repetitive actions, and also we have behaviors that are different in behaviors, and also language. So all these aspects are affected. But because we say autism is a spectrum, the one unique thing we have to also identify is there is no, if you meet one autistic person, it's one autistic person. They could have picked different aspects of the 4 quadrants, yeah? So you do not expect one person to be like the other. You can never find 2 autistic persons that are alike. Maybe they would share one thing in behavior, or in speech difficulties, or in intellectual challenges, but there are no 2 people. It is a very wide spectrum, whose cause is still not known.
Your sons, I mean, as you mentioned, that there are definitely 2 individuals, and I shouldn't even, you know, clump them together.
No, not at all.
You know, so tell us about them.
Okay, so first, as a developmental disability, when we talk about neuro, that means the brain. So as your brain develops, there is the stages that are expected as a child. We say by this time, a child should have been able to attain certain milestones. So those are some of the early indicators. For me, in my case, there was the indicators of growth, which means the neck control was not there. You will find some who don't have eye contact, and you will also find they don't walk, talk like any other child, the timelines that is expected, the typical time that is expected. So for and then autism you'll find has comorbid conditions. Comorbid conditions means coexisting. So for my middle child, we'll say baby A, that's Andrew, and B for Bradley. So for A, it started with the convulsions. Convulsive disorder is one of the very common, and epilepsy. So that's the most common. So it was first when he was a child, he was having a lot of gastro issues because the stomach, the gut, and the system is one of the key things that can point out jaundice, etc. as per the study. And if you look at autistic parents' assessments, you will see the early signs, because autism can come anytime from birth to 5 years. It can come in at any one point. And as at now, that awareness that we're trying to look at, we did not find out until he was like 3, when he was not walking, he was not talking. So Andrew spoke at 5. So, but we had the gastro issues, we had convulsions, which were already under medication. So when we did MRI, is when we saw like there was a liquid in your brain. You know, our brain has so many components. Part of it was not fully there. So we gave it 5 years, but still at 5 years, you know, the only thing is like as a parent, you keep holding on to what you're told. And 5 years comes and goes, he spoke at 5, but we are still at 3-letter sentences. So that's A. And then when you look at social interactions, the autistic person's like playing, it's a challenge being with other kids. So he will try, but he would rather be, if we are all here, he would take his comfort item. They get also attached to things. Yes. So he likes fidgeting. It's one of the characteristics, but he fidgets with a stick. So he might, if we put him here, it's a new environment, the first thing you might do is go around, look for a stick. Yes. That's the only time he will be able to sit calm, because you see that calms them down. So these are behaviors that we see, but it is their way of regulating the environment for them to be comfortable. Now, when we come to Bradley, who's, like we said, it's not linear. You can say high, low, but it's not as severe. And he has more of ADD, that is attention deficit. That means, you see that child that they cannot sit, they cannot do this for more than 5 minutes. They want to do this, they want to do that. Back in the days, we used to be told, watukutu, you know? You know, that child, hey, houski, you're not settling that. So he's more that characteristic. But also he spoke at 3, but he's more social. He'll come here, everyone is my friend, he wants to take care of everybody. So you see, it's a spectrum, but they're 2 totally different individuals. And for him, when he started talking at 3, it took a while, but now when he's 10, he can speak English, Swahili. And know the funny thing is, I saw Andrew was self-teaching Chinese, watching Chinese, and he started repeating. Wow. And now you wonder, like, so should we put Chinese fully so that he can fully, you know, then, but you see some of these things, they can start and stop. Yeah. So it's a bit of a challenge. You learn with every phase. It's a new thing that you're discovering.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I can listen to. I love the fact that you're very knowledgeable about this. I mean, if someone met you for the first time or was hearing, you would be sure, Sylvia has like a medical background or something. Oh, yeah. So, you know, so I do have to commend the fact that you have immersed yourself in this particular disorder so that you can be able to create an environment that is suitable for your young ones. So over to you, Duncan. You have an autistic son. How old was, I know what Sylvia already mentioned, so the idea is to just pick out, you know, because they're all different. How old was your son when he was diagnosed? And how did you start noticing? What were the telltale signs for you to feel there's something that, you know, is a bit different?
So, yeah, so for me, my son, it was at age 3. And one of the major things that we realized is sleep. So because of the hyperactiveness, they rarely sleep well. So I would go to work looking like a zombie. Another thing that we caught is Luca would place an object at a certain degree, at a certain angle, and if you move it even 1 degree either side, he will notice, and it will make him have a meltdown. He was fascinated with forks and how forks interlock with each other.
So the house looked like Game of Thrones.
Yes. And in fact, that is, we went for a birthday party and a lady asked us, do you guys know that your child is special? Like he's almost like a genius. We're like, he's a child, you can't tell at this age. It's like, where are the rest of the children? They're in the bouncing castle, they're getting their faces painted. It's like, where's your son? your son is touching stones and feeling the edges of the stone to get the texture. He's holding foxes and he's just fascinated with what is happening around him.
At this point, he was 3 years old.
Yes.
Wow.
So at that point, we were like, okay, well, let's go for a checkup. And our worst fears were confirmed that he's autistic. But it answered a lot of questions. And I remember the doctor asking us, do you need time as a couple? I give you the room, you process it. And we were like, no. He was like, you're the first couple I've seen in many years who are still smiling after a diagnosis. But for us, it is because we understood. We now could relate with everything that he does. And for as Sylvia was saying, we become, as parents raising kids with autism, you start becoming a doctor in yourself. No offense to doctors, but like you start noticing. So recently, a few weeks ago, we also noticed my daughter has some traits which might mean she's autistic, and true to fact, when we took her for her diagnosis, it was confirmed. So now I'm raising two. And for my daughter, she's an albino. So she has albinism and autism. But albinism, I tell people, it's just your skin is
It's just a pigment.
yeah.
Yes.
So we noticed she was walking around like a ballerina.
Oh.
And she was running on her toes and flapping. And also very particular about her food, her environment. And so by the time we were going for the diagnosis, really already knew. Yeah, so it was just a confirmation. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I must say there's definitely some freedom and some power with knowledge and knowing, as opposed to sort of just taking a stab in the dark.
Yes.
So at least you can be able to prepare and see what comes next. So moving on. Hi, Chelsea.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine.
I'm so happy that you're joining me here today.
Yes.
And I think everybody's very excited to hear from you, yeah? So, what do you do here at WAMA, because you're a trainee?
I am a trainee at the barista.
Yes, and a barista.
Yes.
Yes. So what do you enjoy the most about being here at WAMA?
I enjoy making tea for the customers.
Do you enjoy serving the customers?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Chelsea. We'll come back to you in a little bit. So, Sylvia, so we've touched a little bit about when they start communicating. You mentioned sometimes it's 3 years, 5 years. Is there a specific form of communication? How do they communicate to you?
Okay. With the spectrum being so wide, you have those who are verbal, non-verbal, those who are, let me just be complex, Asperger's syndromes are the geniuses, the ones who can communicate, look totally normal, but then there are other characteristics. Then there are those who are partially verbal. So in autism, we have something called selective mutism also, where they say that there are times someone will talk, there are times they will just not talk. So the challenge with the very non-verbal is they don't all start talking at the same time. Like I said, one started at 5, the other one started at 3. And speech therapy is important. But now you will find a child who cannot. One of the characteristics you'll find also when it comes to speech and language, because those are two different things. There's speech and there's language. So if, as a parent, you have a choice of starting with sign language, but remember, it's a brain development disorder, so complex things might not really work for them.
Yeah.
So we have an option of using picture exchange, where if I'm telling them this is water, I introduce a photo that will relate so they understand. So when they want to communicate, you can have a corner where if it's something that I want, I can go there, pick
it
and then show you that.
Yes.
But the most human default communication they will have is called by guiding. This means as a child, if I want something, I'll come to you, get your hand, take you to where I want. So this comes secondary to help you. Let's say if it's in the kitchen, there is so much. If they take you to a cupboard, you can be like, okay, what of all exactly?
Yeah.
Yes. So you can train them slowly if they are the ones who've shown indications that they can pick up words, one word words, because you see they'll find they'll be able to mime what it is that you're saying. So that's another option. In the UK, I did my research across
the globe.
yes. So in the UK, what I found, like in school, they have something they call Makto. where they bring sign language plus picture exchange and actual speech. So you find, and they involve the family, and that's something we are lacking here, where you find that as a parent, whatever is in school is also at home. This is to save them from the fact that when I'm in school, I can communicate. When I come home, I'm so frustrated.
Continuity.
Yes.
And of course, considering that, they're communicating in their own language.
Their own way, yeah.
So of course, that would also reduce the frustration that they would get. Because they're getting heard in school, but they're not getting heard at home, which is of course very crucial to them.
Yes.
So, Care, what therapy has made the most difference to you?
Sylvia will tell you the costs involved, because you have to do speech therapy, occupational therapy. You can also include behavioral therapy, just to teach them how to interact with other kids, and each of these items is charged differently. It's not one fee, and depending on the center you take them. So for my son Luca, he's nonverbal, and he communicates by show. So he will, if he wants something, he will pull you to where that thing is. So
the guiding.
So you can imagine if you're standing in the kitchen and you're like, okay, just tell me what you want. But with time, as parents raising kids with kids who are autistic, I can tell you, we try to figure before the child. We are like, okay, I know this is what you want. And because they are very particular, they limit the scope of the things they want to very particular things. So like I was explaining to Sylvia earlier on, my son only drinks water. That is the only fluid he takes. So doesn't drink soda, doesn't drink juice.
Which narrows down, if you take it to a supermarket and there's Baby Fresh and there's juice.
So that is all.
It's only water.
That is all he takes. We try to avoid giving him wheat because they say gluten affects. But some of these things, it's trial and error. He loves his ugali, so he has his ugali sometimes in the morning because he doesn't drink tea, or his rice. And he's good to go.
He's good to go.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a brilliance to it, and I hope not speaking on it, but there's some sort of brilliance to it, and I think sometimes as human beings, if we open our minds to the possibility that not everything has to be one way, that there are multiple facets of our existence and our brain and how we think of things, then I think we will be in a position to completely understand. Because I'm seeing the genius aspect to how all your kids are behaving, and I'm hoping that as the information continues to be disseminated into society, we'll start looking at autism as just another characteristics to children, to individuals. So for instance, Chelsea is functioning. She's here and she's having work at 23 years old. So Chelsea, my dear, tell me, what do you, once you graduate, what do you want to do after?
I want to be a barista.
You want to be a barista?
Yes.
Do you know of a specific place you would like to go?
No.
You don't have one yet?
Yes.
So the barista who makes tea, how do you make tea? How would you make tea for me?
You grind the coffee beans.
Yes.
Then you put them in something like a kichungi.
Yes.
Then you tamp. Then you connect it to a machine. Then you put the start button on. Then you put the cup under. If it's a small cup, it can enter under. If it's a big cup, you put the 2 green cups, which the coffee will enter inside. Then you put the coffee inside the cup. Then you put milk.
Oh wow, wonderful! You'll have to make for me a cup of tea when we are done. Who else would want a cup of tea from Chelsea? Nice. That's wonderful. Now going back to what we were speaking about. In terms of disseminating information. And of course, the organizations that we've even spoken to and the ones that I was even doing research, most of them are actually, parents guided, parents organized, etc. Do you feel like there is a gap between what the various ministries, you told me it's an interministry, undertaking. It's just not responsibility. It's not just Ministry of Health.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there is enough support and assistance in doing the research? Because like you mentioned, there's still no specific cause of autism,
Yeah.
you know. So do you feel like there's enough and adequate support that you get from the ministry? I'll let both of you answer that, but we can start with Sylvia.
Trust me, I've sat in all those ministries. You kept there waiting until they can't even tell you first, this is the actual person, this is the actual department, and it can be very frustrating. It's just reasons that we have, or most of us have come out, and then now we are being heard finally, and something is being done. And you will find that when you look at autism, it's a multifaceted. You cannot say it's a health issue, it's a social issue, it's a human rights issue. So all of them have to come together. And when you are talking about statistics, that also plays. The statistics are not there because of the complexity. And you know, as human default, something you don't understand, you don't want to start on
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
So you find you need to have health, you have to have education, and you have to have social protection. Those are the key three that you always have, and the human rights, because we've seen a lot of injustices. But you find here in our country the challenge that we are having. If I go to the Ministry of Health, I'll give you an example from one of the projects that we have. We come together, we raise the funds, we say, okay, for us who understand our children, a special unit requires therapy, like he says, it's a lot of money, it's time. You think we'll have our jobs if we are supposed to do the 3 times a week that we're supposed to, I'll be forever out. And that's why you find also the economic angle of it, the parents being affected because they can't retain their jobs, or you're reduced to menial jobs that you can run and come back.
They don't take too much time, yes.
Exactly. So health, in terms of if I have convulsions, I need medication. Most of our kids are on medication, be it supplements, be it for the anticonvulsants. And you find in the neurodiverse space, you will find that those who have other conditions like their eyes, or you need, if it's flat-footed, you need corrections for that. And if you're going to school, if you don't do occupational therapy, that child will not be able to settle in school. Yes. So that means a Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health need to work together. But if you go here, you're told that's a Ministry of Health issue. If you go, exactly.
On and off.
Yes, if you come and say this is the disability, then it goes to the National Council, which is under social protection. Yes. And even them, they do not have the mandate to actually punish and tell these people you have to do this. So you see, you find that synergy is not there. And we are hoping that soon and very soon, thank God we have a new government, that something can actually finally get done. And then we will be able to have them see how this can work for all the different ministries so that we can have better services for our children.
Well, which is good. So this is a call to task, to the government of the day, quite literally, that this is something that is here with us. Autism, I think the first case must have been done as over 70 years ago. So if it has been happening and all the organizations are currently being run by parents, what is the government going to do about it? You know, the incumbent government, what are they planning to do about it? How are they going to fill those shoes? Well, shoes that have never been filled by any governmental bodies. How are we going to try and assist in a situation, in a condition that is here to stay? You know, so we're going to take a small break, and then we'll pick up the questions when we come back. So we'll see you in a bit.
Welcome to Wama Africa, located on Mthangari Road in Lavington. Wama is a social enterprise restaurant, bar, and function space which trains young adults living with disability and special needs. Wama is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner from 8 a.m. till late, 7 days a week. Walk-ins are welcome.
Welcome back to the question and answer and the most interactive part of the show. I look forward to this every time because I always want to hear the thoughts and the opinions of my audience. To start us off, we will have Faith Ken.
Oh, thank you, Ashiko. My name is Faith Ken, and my question goes to Sylvia. First, I'll start by congratulating you for the nice work you've done. So my question is, how do you balance running the organization and plus your kids, you as a mom, and also you as a person, you have also your life? How do you manage the both of them? Then another question goes to both of you. Being that you have autistic kids, how do you feel while interacting with other parents? And does they treat your kids like special kids? Or like what type of interaction do you have when you meet your fellow parents with other kids who are not special? Thank you.
So first of all, work-life balance is important. The organization is not my main job, but it will become my main job. My actual career is I'm a graphic designer and a brand consultant. So planning is key, and support system is another thing. And the thing with autistic kids, once you have them in a routine, they thrive. You have to have a routine. I wake up, I do this, I do this. So they're in school right now, so I can run around. So I set my meetings aligning that I will drop them to school, and then I'll do my meetings, I'll pick them by 4. I continue, my day ends at midnight. So every part of my day is a section of which personality I am, because there are all other also responsibilities that I have. I am Miss Africa, I sit in the National Council Board, we have activities that we run to support other parents, so long as you plan yourself, that is very sufficient, you'll be able to.
Yeah. Thank you so much, that's well put, Sylvia. So it's just, the key is in the routine
planning, support system is also very important.
Routine, planning, support system.
Delegation. Delegate what you don't necessarily have to do it by yourself.
Oh, I think that's very good, and I think we'll upload it onto our social pages for any other parent who's out there who is wondering how to, the work-life balance. So you said routine, delegation, planning, and of course support system. Everybody needs a support system. Duncan?
Yes, discrimination is there. We face a lot of discrimination in terms of, when I say we, I mean we as parents raising kids with special needs and our children, because of the ignorance that society has in terms of understanding what autism is about. Because in the African context, they believe autistic kids are violent. So you will find probably your child not being invited for birthday parties because they don't understand that someone can be so calm and they're autistic. To them, most people go straight to this person is violent. And autistic children are not violent. Sometimes they have what we call meltdowns, and meltdowns is because they're frustrated about something, or there's probably, change in weather, and they feel sensitive about that. So it is, for my friends, I educate them and I don't see discrimination, but for strangers, sometimes you can see it. But I go out of my way to try and educate, and if you don't want to be educated, I don't need to be interacting with you. So you will not be anywhere near my children. Yes.
I think that's wonderful. I think at the end of the day, you do have the choice in who is going to be around your children. Same way, whether we are talking about differently abled, autistic, I think the choice is up to us. If you feel like you're in an environment where people are not stepping out of their comfort zone to educate themselves about very crucial matters, then you have the option to pull yourself out of that particular situation. Even a school, isn't it? Yeah. Even schools where they refuse to compromise and meet people halfway, I believe then there's a right, and there needs to be a way where it can be reinforced.
And we are their voices. For example, the nonverbal. We have to speak up for them. If we don't speak up for them, they can't speak up for themselves.
And some of the emotions, it's the parents who take the pain when your child is discriminated against, because your child might not even notice when they're being discriminated against. They don't take things so personally. Remember, their emotional content is higher than ours. Their pain threshold is higher than ours. The way they see things, and then you see the other thing is that being different in maybe how they do things in their routine. You saw how very meticulous she was in explaining that you had how the son arranges things. That's their nature. They do things in a very specific way. So the environmental factors is what brings in the stigma. It's not even the child being different, but we who are around are the ones who make them feel out of place. We are the ones who accentuate that the environment is actually not comfortable for them. So it's about the society accepting. Why should they adapt to us while they're the fewer population, while we can be able to adopt and accommodate them. So the ball is back to the society and the community to embrace difference and take it up.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. I don't even feel like there's anything else I can add to that. That is so well put. So the next question is by Anne. Yes, Anne.
So my question goes to both of them. Is it only genetically passed? And if it's only genetically passed, what about these young couples who are maybe about to marry, and maybe a girlfriend or a boyfriend, it's somewhere, what will be your say to them? At the same time, those who are married, they have never experienced it, but maybe they are on the way to discover whether the child is autistic or not. What will be your say to them to cover up the fear, overcome the fear, the challenge? Yeah.
First of all, I'll tell you it's not genetic. Yes, so don't think about it in terms of genetics. It is just a condition that happens. So don't be afraid to get married. Don't start doing all these tests to find out
If you are autistic, there's no gene to find.
There's no gene. Stop looking at your family history about autism. No. Fall in love, get married.
Live your life, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to top on that, when it comes to genetics, actually Aga Khan University is doing research on that. But genetics is one of the many hypotheses that are currently existing on the causes of autism. We have that, we have vaccine, we have those who say because of CS, there are those who are talking about age of the parent. But all these are things people are assuming, but there is no scientifically proven way to say that this is actually it. Yeah, so it is something that is across board. And the other question about marriage, like he said, even if let's say for me, I have my kids who are autistic, there is no written that if I give birth, my firstborn is not autistic, it's just the other two. If you ask me as a parent, the only correlation is I had difficulty in pregnancy during the last time. And it can happen during pregnancy, it can be in you, it is triggered by something else. It is remember where we started? Spectrum. Same as also the cause. It is very wide. Everyone has their own story. Yeah. So, and you never know who's going to be next. So don't be like, it's gonna. And about knowledge, that's why we're doing, about knowing, we're spreading awareness so that when you give birth and your child comes, remember we all expect a perfect bundle of joy. But if God gives you this child, love them for who they are and not what you expected them to be. Sure. The only way you'll be able to accept and love them for who they are.
Wow, that's quite,
to just emphasize, I have a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old who are absolutely normal.
I like the fact that you use the word normal, and I think it's good so that we can bust
the normal. Who says
bust some of those myths, because and I don't want to turn around and become Ashiko the philosopher, because I do believe sometimes normalcy is very relative. Okay, yeah. What works for you may not work for me. Yeah. I think it's always about perception. How do you view things? What is your outlook on certain matters? And sometimes what informs your perception is like what she's saying. Educate yourself. Have knowledge about certain things, then know that the array of options that is out there. You know, it's good that today most probably somebody at home has learned that all these are all being hypothesized, like you said. People are still trying to find out what are the root causes and what causes autism, you know. So in the meantime, can we stop
branding? No, let me give you an interesting
fact. The bias, the stereotype needs to stop. You know, if I drink from the same cup as this person, if I
can transfer
it can be transferable, because and I do like that question, because many may not come out and say it, you know, but it is something that is lingering in the back of their minds. Because now I'm being, Mr. is trying to talk to me and he has an autistic brother. Yuko siezi enda. Yuko sijui tutachinja ng'ombe ngapi. Yuko siezi enda. No. Yeah, so culture obviously plays a big role, society plays a big role, but the big demystifier obviously is education. Educate yourself. There are resources all over the place that can be able to help you. So let us move on. The next question was coming from Pauline.
Thank you, Ashiko. So I wanted to ask both of you, are there programs that help parents with autistic children in rural areas and those from the ghetto that cannot afford therapies?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good question. Okay.
Well, that's a difficult question, because I'm in an urban area, and I don't want to say they're not there, but if they're there, they're very few. And as we started this conversation, I said these are parent-led initiatives. So, and there's so many, I mean, I don't know how many WhatsApp groups of parents raising kids, not only with autism, with other special needs, because my group is not of dads raising kids with autism. I'm not sure, and I don't want to blabber about something I'm not sure, but I can assure you there's someone somewhere who's doing something, and God bless them, and may their cup be filled.
Depending on which slum, if someone has a question, you can reach out to us as Andy Speaks. We can direct you to where you can get the closest support system on ground for you. Because you find that when you're helping and intervening, like I said, it's multifaceted. So it depends which organization is helping in what ways. There are those ones that go to the ground and set up a therapy center for free. All right, and there are those ones who will have, like Special Olympics will come and give therapies to train the parents to be able to do it at home. So there are different approaches that different organizations use so that they are able to support the guys on ground. Yeah.
If we can pick some information from their own stories, and that was primarily the reason why we got the parents and not the professional per se, because people who are living in the compound and living in the vicinity and living in the same house. So like she said, it's a very broad spectrum. However, there are certain similarities that are shared. So like you're asking, if you have a child and you start noticing the speech impairment, if you start noticing, specificity in certain things, just little odd quirks here and there, then of course, then you can seek a second opinion, a third opinion. You can visit KISE, you can visit all the organizations that we've talked about. Of course, it's also important to access the internet. The internet is a treasure trove of information. If you do feel, go read up on it. I'm still in awe of Sylvia and how much information that she's been able to acquire, for the duration of her sons being alive. And I'm thinking, where the people go to school for all that time? So we're going to have the next question and then we will close up with Adam. So Bashir, you had a question?
No, sure, I had a question. My question is for Duncan, actually. Yeah, so it's quite impressive because I listened to how he's been able to talk about, especially when he had situation with the second child that I listened to. That's quite impressive. But my question really is, when you said strangers with ignorance, that's where I'm going. Sometimes you're in a situation. Yeah, friends you can manage, but strangers, how then do you deal? You see? Your child is attached to a stranger in this circumstance. And at the same time, you know quite well that that stranger is ignorant of the fact that, a meltdown, for instance, is going on. So how do you maintain that sort of a delicate balance?
Yeah, thank you, Bashir. I think it's also really good if you even expand on the stranger bit and even talk about the caregivers. Some of the nannies, if you take a child to, during the holidays, ushago, akienda, how would you approach something like that?
So you have to be deliberate. So you have to be deliberate in terms of informing. So for me, unlike other African or Kenyan men, when nannies are being hired, I sit down and interview them with my wife. Because I have to be deliberate as a father, and I have to explain to them, do you know what autism is? And if no, can I explain to you? Are you able to be patient? I've been blessed to have 2 caregivers who are very patient with my children. For strangers, if you invite me for a party in your house and I have to come with my children, the first thing I walk in is I'll have to tell them, look, he's autistic. At some point, he might
have a meltdown.
Or hide your phones. He's very gadgety. Because he'll want to touch every phone. Don't mind him. Don't try to touch him because he hates people in his space. If he feels comfortable, he'll walk towards you and try to interact with you. Do not mind about him being all over the place. He's just being himself. So you have to be deliberate with strangers. You can't shy away from telling them that this is the condition that this child has, and this is why they're behaving the way they are behaving. So, and make the stranger also feel comfortable, and ask me the questions you have, so that you're not shy and you're not being ignorant and saying, like someone once told me, you should buy parrot water and give your son so that your son can talk, And I was like, how do you react to that?
How do do you react to that?
So I just laughed because I'm like, wow, like I can't help you. Like clearly there's something wrong with you.
I think even having sometimes a good sense of, I think with even the liberty, and I have interacted with you, you know, like I was mentioned to the audience, I've known Duncan for very, very, very many years. You know, even having a good sense of humor sometimes and accepting the cards that life has dealt you. And loving those children and adoring those children. And then now that time you're not going to be so close-chested that whenever someone makes a comment like, can I buy your son parrot water? What's parrot water?
Like,
so that you can talk.
Is it sold in the supermarket?
Is it in the supermarket?
Is it imported?
You know, and can we mass distribute it? Like what you said about being deliberate, and of course, you know, I think being comfortable in your situation and accepting your situation as it is will stop you from shying away. It is okay to come out and say, my son or my daughter is autistic and we are in your house, so this may happen, and this is the situation I'm in. I'm not scared and I'm not embarrassed of my child. Yeah. Do you have a question that you want to ask me? Because I think most of the time they're always is always our very able host. You know, this is the founder of WAMA. Of course, WAMA here, they do hire autistic young adults like Chelsea. So you had a question.
Thank you. My first quick question is to Chelsea and a message for other employers. What makes you happy about coming to work?
Wake up very early in the morning, prepare myself, come to work. The first thing I find at work is the barista lady standing there waiting for me to come, to arrive in school and start learning. That's what makes me happy.
Fantastic.
That's wonderful, yeah.
And the final question for the parents, what can restaurants and other hospitality establishments throughout the country do to make themselves more inclusive for families such as yourselves?
Okay, first and foremost, I love that you see an autistic person is normal like any other person. They want to be integrated, they want to be part of the community, they want to do and have a life. Because that autistic child will still become an autistic adult.
Yes.
This thing we are doing, that special kids sit on this special corner, there is no special world for them.
There's no special society.
So this society has to integrate them to be part of us. So first of all, let's educate ourselves. Let's learn the things that they can do. They are very good with sequence. They are very good with routine. Like they are the best in IT. We always see people being hailed from outside, but why are they getting to the point at which they are? But if you look like the boy who was blind and very vocal,
I forget it.
That one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the owner of Virgin Atlantic. Let's talk about the owner of Microsoft. Let's talk about Bill Gates. Let's talk about Elon Musk. What's the first thing you think? Very wealthy. What's one thing that nobody knows? They are all autistic.
Yes.
But they're autistic
including children of Big Bang Theory.
Exactly.
Bill Gates
but
is
they are
autistic.
thriving in their space because they were given accommodation was made and they were given a chance to do what they're very good at.
Yes.
And once employers realize that, and for us even as parents, because it starts from us as parents, when we accept them, we create the opportunities. Because I had an option of locking myself and saying, oh my God, I'm doomed, and that's the end of it. But if you can't give your child that chance, if they're doing this, they don't like it, they're not getting it, move to the next. God cannot be unfair. All of them have that special thing that they can do. Find that. Then, for the employers, just give them a chance. Don't focus on the label. Focus on the able. That's one of my favorite sayings. So don't judge me because there is a lady who says she went for an interview. She was shortlisted. But the minute she walked in, the anxiety kicked in because it's part of it. And she said, apologies, I'm autistic. And that was how she was struck off the list. Yes, she was the best candidate. So let's stop branding and judging. Give an opportunity. Make the environment comfortable. If the light is too much, dim it. If I like look at my things facing north, face my things, you know, you make them comfortable and then give you the best service ever.
I think that's also really good, especially for the patrons. If the patrons are coming and you notice that somebody is autistic, if Luca is going to come and take people's phones and, you know, just put the phones away, you know, let's be accommodating. I think what What any single patron would want when they're frequenting a joint or whatever, they would want a place that is inclusive. They would want a place that is not going to be quick to judge. If you do see a child having a meltdown, you know, for instance, you see here you sort of have it covered because, you know, you already do understand the spectrum. But in other places, if a child is having a meltdown, you'll see the other patrons, you know, sneering and making faces and doing all of that. At the end of the day, we all need to have a lot of tolerance for each other, including establishment owners. Because like Sylvia said, these kids are not going to be locked out, and these kids are not going to remain kids forever. They will grow and they will become adults, and they're still very functional members of society. So when we are looking at establishment, hotels, clubs, whatever, all these places that are, you know, social places, you know, educate the staff. Let the staff know that not everybody is going to be the same. People are going to be different. And when you find that the table has been arranged in a certain manner, don't run back to the supervisor and say, kuko na mteja number 14, mimi sielewi nika ayuko, huyo ayuko kabisa. No. So we need to practice tolerance. I'm going to end the show there. It has been a wonderful, very, very insightful show. And I would like Chelsea, who is my panel guest over here and a trainee here at WAMA. She's also autistic, but that is not her brand. She is an individual and she's very capable. So I'm going to give her the highest honors today by closing my show. So Chelsea.
Thank you all of you for watching WAMA, Dada at WAMA.
Thank you so much. Need I say more? She's taking my job. So on behalf of our production crew at KBC and my location partner, WAMA Africa, my very, very able panel and the audience at large, I want to wish you a good day. Let us have tolerance. Let's practice consideration. Let's also educate ourselves in certain facets in life that we do not understand. Until next time, next week, same place, same here. It's the Dada Show, and I'm your host, Ashiko Bune.